My wife handed me her evening bag at her company gala, told me to wait, and then pressed her body against her married boss during a slow dance while I watched. I was 44, Natalie, and I had been married 11 years, and by the time the song ended, I had returned the bag to her on the dance floor and left the hotel alone. What ended our marriage was not confusion about what I saw. It was how certain she was that I would carry it for her. The gala was held in the ballroom of a downtown hotel. Natalie's company sponsored it every year to raise money for local arts programs, and she had spent weeks talking about the people who would be there. Her division president, Grant Cole, was the name she mentioned most. Grant liked confidence. Grant noticed people who could work a room. Grant had started inviting Natalie to meetings where she used to be the person taking notes outside the door. I understood why the night mattered to her. I had watched her work hard for years, and I was proud of her. I bought a new dark suit because she said my old one looked tired under ballroom lighting. I picked up her dress from the tailor on my way home. When the clasp on one of her shoes broke that afternoon, I drove across town for another pair while she finished getting ready. That was the kind of husband I had always been. If Natalie's flight landed late, I waited at the airport. If a company dinner ran long, I sat at the bar with her coat over the back of my chair. If she needed to stay visible to the right people, I made myself easy to move around. For a long time, I called that support. Over the previous year, it had started feeling more like stage equipment. At work events, Natalie would introduce me warmly and then leave me holding whatever she no longer wanted in her hands. Her coat, her phone, a gift bag. Once, she gave me her half-finished drink before taking a group photograph with Grant and 2 clients. When the picture appeared online, I had been cropped out so neatly that even my shoulder was gone. I told her later that I did not mind her working a room. I minded being brought along as proof that she was safely married, then treated like a coat rack once that proof had served its purpose. She laughed at the wording, but I did not. "I'm serious," I said. "If you want me there as your husband, treat me like your husband. If you need an assistant, hire one." She apologized and promised the gala would be different. She called it our night. She even said she wanted Grant to meet the man who made her success possible. The ballroom looked expensive without feeling elegant. There were tall glass centerpieces, blue lights washing the walls, and a band playing versions of songs everyone recognized after the first few notes. Natalie stayed close to me through dinner. She touched my arm when she introduced me. She told 2 coworkers that I was the reason she had survived her busiest quarter. For the first hour, I believed her promise. Grant stopped beside our table after the charity presentation. He was about 10 years older than us, silver at the temples, and practiced at making every person feel briefly selected. I had met him once before. I had also met his wife, which made the wedding ring on his hand unnecessary evidence. Grant shook my hand and told me Natalie was becoming indispensable. Then he turned toward her and kept his hand against the back of her chair while they talked. Natalie angled her knees away from me and toward him. It was a small movement, but I noticed because she did not turn back. The band began a slow song. Grant smiled and held out his hand. "Come on," he said. "You've been working all night." Natalie looked at me, lifted her small black evening bag from her lap, and pressed it into my hands. "Hold this," she said. "Grant asked me to dance." I did not close my fingers around it. "We came here together," I said quietly. "It's one song. Then dance with me." Her smile tightened. She pushed the bag against my chest until I had to take it or let it fall. "Please don't make this awkward," she said. "This is part of networking, just wait here." Grant was close enough to hear her. He gave me a quick smile that was supposed to make the moment harmless. Then Natalie took his hand and followed him onto the dance floor. At first, they left a respectful space between them. His palm rested near her shoulder blade. Her other hand was in his. I remember thinking that maybe I had reacted too quickly. Maybe she really would circle the floor once, thank him, and come back. Then Grant pulled her closer. Natalie did not resist. She slid her hand out of his and placed it behind his neck. Their chests touched. Their hips stayed together as they moved, even when the music changed direction. His hand traveled from the middle of her back to the lowest part of her waist, low enough that nobody looking at them could mistake it for a formal dance hold. Natalie tipped her face toward his. He said something near her ear, and she laughed without creating an inch of distance. Several people from her table noticed. One woman looked at me, then immediately looked down at her drink. A man beside her suddenly became very interested in the band. I was standing beside an empty chair in the suit Natalie had chosen for me, holding the bag that matched her dress, while my wife moved against another woman's husband. Then Natalie looked directly at me. There was no shock on her face. She knew exactly where I was. She saw the bag in my hands. For 1 second, I expected the sight of me to bring her back to herself. Instead, she gave me a tiny smile, not an apologetic one. It was the smile she used when a meeting ran over and she wanted me to be patient. Then she turned her attention back to Grant and moved even closer. That smile changed the scene for me. Until then, I had been trying to decide whether the dance had crossed a line. After that, the line did not matter. Natalie had seen my humiliation clearly and chosen to continue, because she believed my role was to absorb it without disturbing her evening. I looked down at the bag. It was not heavy. It held her phone, lipstick, room key, and a few things she might need later. Still, it felt like the most honest object in the room. She had handed me everything that would inconvenience her so she could use both arms to hold another man. I stood and walked onto the dance floor. People moved aside because they assumed I was joining my wife. Grant noticed me first. His hand lifted from Natalie's waist, but hers remained at his neck until she followed his eyes and saw me beside them. I held out the bag. "Natalie," I said, "this belongs to you." She stared at it instead of taking it. "What are you doing?" "Giving it back." "Evan, stop." I kept my arm extended. I did not raise my voice or look at Grant. This was not a competition between him and me. Grant had shown me what kind of man he was. Natalie was the person who had made a promise to me. The band kept playing. Finally, she removed her hand from Grant's neck and took the bag. "You're embarrassing me," she whispered. I almost laughed at the precision of it. Not because anything was funny, but because she could feel embarrassment only when it landed on her. "I'm leaving," I said. "It's one dance, don't be dramatic." "You can finish it." I walked away before she could hand the bag back. At the table, I picked up my phone and suit jacket. I did not knock over a chair, make a speech, or tell her coworkers what I thought of them. I thanked the server who had been refilling our water and went to the lobby bar. I had ordered one bourbon there before dinner, so I closed that tab and paid for that drink. Nothing else. Then I ordered a ride and stepped outside. Natalie called before the car reached the next block. I let it ring. Her first text said I was making her look ridiculous. The second said Grant's wife knew they sometimes danced at events. The third said I needed to come back because people were asking where I had gone. Not one message asked what it had felt like to watch her. I told the driver to take me to a small hotel near my office. I could have gone home, but I knew the pattern waiting there. Natalie would return after midnight, wake me and keep talking until my exhaustion looked like agreement. By morning, I would be making coffee while she explained that successful people did not get insecure about harmless things. I did not want to be talked back into carrying the bag. She called 7 more times that night. Near 1 in the morning, she sent a message saying she had gotten a ride home with a coworker and expected me at the house before breakfast. I slept badly, but I did sleep. The next morning, I returned around 10. Natalie was at the kitchen counter wearing the robe I had given her for Christmas. The black evening bag sat beside her coffee cup. She did not apologize when I entered. "Do you understand what you did to me last night?" she asked. "I left. You abandoned me at my company's biggest event. You were not alone." Her mouth tightened. "Grant is my boss. That dance mattered." "Why?" "Because relationships matter. Because being comfortable around leadership matters. Because I cannot act like a frightened schoolgirl every time a man touches me." "I didn't ask you to be frightened. I asked you not to press yourself against your married boss while I held your purse." She looked away, but only for a moment. "It was dancing, Evan. Adults dance. Adults also choose how they dance." She told me Grant behaved that way with everyone. I asked if he put his hand that low on every employee. She said I was being crude. I asked if every employee wrapped an arm around his neck and kept their hips against him while their spouse watched. That was when she stopped pretending the dance had been neutral. "He finds me attractive," she said. "I know that. And yes, I like the attention. It feels good to walk into a room and know someone like him notices me." Someone like him. Powerful, connected, the kind of person everyone wants something from. "And what did you want from him?" She exhaled sharply. "I wanted to enjoy one song without managing your feelings." "You looked right at me. I was checking on you. You saw me standing there with your bag, and you kept going." Natalie folded her arms. "Because I knew you were fine. You're dependable. You don't blow things up over nothing. I thought you would hold my things, smile, and understand that it was part of the night." There it was, not a hidden affair, not a surprise confession designed to make the dance look small, just the truth of the choice she had made in full view of me. She enjoyed having her boss want her. She enjoyed showing him that she would answer. And she believed my dependability meant she could place the humiliation in my hands along with her bag and find both waiting when she returned. "I'm not fine," I said, "and I'm not staying in this marriage." For the first time since I entered the kitchen, she looked frightened. "You're ending 11 years over a dance." "No, I'm ending it because you knew what you were doing, knew I was watching and counted on me accepting it." "That's insane." "It may feel insane because you were certain I would never do it." She paced from the counter to the window. Her anger came first. She said I was punishing her for being successful. She said men like Grant controlled careers and that she had to keep him interested. Then she heard her own wording and quickly changed interested to engaged. I did not threaten to contact her company. I did not call Grant's wife. I did not ask Natalie to quit her job. Whatever happened in that office was no longer going to be the center of my life. I told her I would stay with a friend while I found a place of my own. We could handle the practical end of the marriage calmly, but I would not spend the next month pretending this was a temporary argument. She asked whether I had been waiting for an excuse to leave. That hurt because the opposite was true. I had been waiting for evidence that all the small moments could still add up to a marriage I recognized. I reminded her of the airport pickups, the dinners where I ate alone while she moved from group to group, and the nights I stood by hotel doors with her coat over my arm. None of those things had ended us. I had done them because I loved her. What ended us was learning how she interpreted that love. To Natalie, my patience had become permission. My reliability had become something she could spend without asking. She had not thought, "Evan will be hurt but stay." She had thought, "Evan's hurt does not require a change in my behavior because he will stay." She began to cry then. I wanted to comfort her. The impulse was so automatic that I actually took one step forward before stopping. Even at the end, my body remembered its assignment. I packed enough clothes for a week. Natalie followed me from room to room, changing her argument each time. The dance meant nothing. The dance mattered professionally. Grant was harmless. Grant wanted her, but she had not let anything happen. I was overreacting. I had humiliated her. She was sorry I had misunderstood. Not once did she say she had stopped caring about my dignity in that ballroom. Before I left, she stood in the entryway and asked who would drive her to an early appointment on Monday. The question slipped out before she could catch it. We both heard what it revealed. "You'll need to arrange a ride," I said. She stared at me as if that were the cruelest thing I had said all morning. During the first week apart, Natalie kept trying to restore our routines without restoring the marriage. She sent me reminders about groceries we normally bought on Sundays. She asked whether I had picked up her dry cleaning. She forwarded an invitation to another company dinner and wrote, "We should look united." I answered only the messages necessary to separate our lives. I did not attend the dinner. A week later, we met at a quiet restaurant. Natalie arrived carrying the same black bag. She placed it on the empty chair between us instead of asking me to hold it. This time, she apologized without using the word misunderstood. She said the dance had been sexual. She said she had liked making Grant forget there were other people in the room. When she saw me watching, she had felt a brief flash of guilt. Then she had decided stopping would make her look weak in front of him. "Why did my humiliation matter less than looking weak to Grant?" I asked. She looked down at her hands. "Because I thought you were safe," she said. "I thought I could fix it with you later." Safe, she used the word as if it should comfort me. I understood what she meant. She had not believed I was unimportant. She had believed I was permanently secured. Grant's attention was uncertain, so she protected it. My loyalty felt guaranteed, so she gambled with it. She asked if counseling could help. I told her counseling might help her understand what she had done, but it could not make me forget that she had looked into my face and made a calculation. She had chosen the man whose approval she might lose over the husband she believed could not leave. She reached for my hand. I moved mine beside my plate. "If I had stopped when I saw you," she asked, "would we still be together?" "I don't know," I said, "but you didn't stop." That was the last conversation in which reconciliation was offered. I rented a small apartment 15 minutes from my office. There was no dramatic division of friends and no campaign to ruin Natalie's career. Some people thought I had overreacted because there had been no kiss and no secret hotel room. Others had seen the dance and understood before I explained anything. Grant remained her boss. Whether his attention eventually moved to another employee was not my concern. The consequence Natalie faced was simpler and more permanent. The man who had made her life run smoothly was no longer waiting outside the ballroom. A few months later, I returned to the house for the last of my books. Natalie was getting ready for another company event. Her dress was laid across the bed, and the black evening bag was open on the dresser. She picked it up as I carried the final box toward the door. For a second, I saw the question form in her face. Maybe it was habit. Maybe she wanted to test whether some part of the old arrangement still existed. She did not ask me to carry it. I did not offer. My new apartment has one hook beside the front door. Most mornings, it holds my jacket. When I leave, I take my keys, my phone, and whatever belongs to me. I do not stand in an entryway loaded down with someone else's things while she decides whether I am worth turning back for. I close the door and I go.